Hello everyone, my name is QuadLy and welcome to the Systems of Warframe, a series in which we explore Warframe's massive amounts of hidden and non-explained systems, today starting with Dammage. This will be a 3-part mini-series, this being part 1, just on Dammage in Warframe. Sadly, in this video there will be a huge amount of math, so I am sorry in advance if I lose you somewhere. Let's start now at the absolute basics, the weapons. Every weapon has its stats, which you can see while you are modding it. What we are only interested in now is total damage, so disregard the damage by status types right now. Total damage is the amount of damage your weapon will deal without any other applicable stats like critical, status, and so on. For easier math, I chose a weapon that deals a round number of total damage, exactly 400, Opticore Vandal. The total damage of the weapon may actually increase quite high, so I will call this damage, the damage weapon does at the start, base damage, because from this base damage we will be able to calculate multiple damage buffs and stuff like that, so it will be much easier to remember it by that name. You can increase total damage in many ways, but all the ways are derived by two systems, the additive and multiplicative damage increases. The difference between the two damage increase systems are quite simple. The additive percentages are summed up together into what I call raw damage. For example, damage increase mods. If I increase damage with Serration by 165%, it will increase the total damage to 1060 from base damage. So yeah, another term that will be used quite a lot in this video, raw damage, which is base damage plus all the additive damage buffs summed up. If I now add the heavy caliber mod, it will increase the total damage to 1720 from base damage again by 165%. The damage increase with these two mods only depends on base damage. You can also see that with a bit of math, the increase from 400 to 1720 total damage is exactly 330% summed up mob damage increases, therefore additive. We will go over all the damage stat increases that work with additive system later in the video. Now let's look at the multiplicative stacking. This formula is far more complicated and frankly, I will be very surprised if I get everything right. I will use multipliers from now on as well, which is just percentage divided by 100 and summed up with 1. It will make it much easier on everyone. So for example, 165% equals to 2.65. That's a multiplier. Part of the multiplicative damage buffs is status damage. We will look at how status damage works in the third part of this mini-series on Warframe's damage, but we will cover the basics in this one. So, we have 330 total damage already with Serration and Heavy Chamber, which derived from base damage, and I will now call it raw damage. By adding primed cryo rounds, which increase cold damage by 165%, will increase the total damage from 1720 to 4558, a very big increase. But how do we calculate that? There is an easy formula. Raw damage, so base damage plus all the additive damage, like Serration and Heavy Chamber, multiplied by multiplicative damage increases, such as primed cryo rounds, and far more. We will go over them at the end of the video. So now let's look at the numbers. 1720 raw damage multiplied by 165% or 2.65, exactly 4558 total damage. But remember, the raw damage is still 1720. Now if we get the Rime Rounds mod on, which increases the cold damage by 60%, we would on instinct just multiply it with total damage, but that's not how it works. Let's try it anyway so we can see that we are totally wrong. So if we multiply it, 4558 multiplied by 60% cold damage, which is the multiplier of 1.6, we would get 7292.8 total damage. But that is awfully wrong. The number we actually need to multiply the new multiplier of the cold damage Rime Rounds mod is the raw damage again. Not total damage, but raw damage, which is 1720. So if we multiply it and add the previous damage, we should get 5590. Now notice the difference between the two Numbers. If we just multiply, we would get insane freaking damage. And if we don't, we get kind of normal damage. We have cold damage on the weapon right now. And if we multiply it with, for example, a multiplier of high voltage, which gives us 60% more electricity damage, 1.6 multiplier, and we would get 6,622 total damage. We only added 5 mods. That is actually it what I wanted to explain in this video about the additive and multiplicative damage. The formulas are insanely long sometimes, but here is again the full one, or all of them, with the additive and multiplicative stats increases. Okay, let's look at some more additive and multiplicative damage buffs now. There will not be all of them, but I'm going to try to get as many as I can. Let's start with the additive. Damage increase mods like Serration, Hornet Strike, Heavy Caliber, and so on are the staple of additive damage increase. Primary and secondary arcanes. A maxed arcane will give you exactly 360% damage increase to base damage, so Serration and Heavy Caliber with 330% base damage increase plus 360% damage increase from the primary arcanes is exactly 690% damage increase. Now, who wouldn't like to brag that funny number on a weapon? This also means that primary mods such as Serration and Heavy Caliber are becoming useless. On melee weapons, the combo multiplier increases base damage up to 4 times when reaching 11th combo tier. Fire rate, it will increase your damage by so much, at the cost of ammo of course. Faster you shoot, more damage you deal. And also Helminth Invigoration, that makes your base damage and abilities sky high. But I think that is pretty much it. Let's look at the multiplicative ones now. Status damage mods, Bane of Infested, Corrupted, Grenier and Corpus mods. They do not show the damage increase but will be multiplied inside the system against a specific enemy type. Get them on your weapons, they are extremely good. There is also Warframe damage increase abilities like Mirage's Eclipse with like 300% plus damage increase buffs. It's insane. Headshot increases damage by 2, so aiming for the head is always great. There is also far more, but for real, I do not calculate that much. I just pack mods onto a weapon and see if they work. If they don't, I replace them with others until they work. The last thing I want is people to burn themselves out from stupid mods and ability stacking, like bruh. No. This was only part 1. If you have any questions, get them down in the comments. And also stay tuned for the second part about critical chance and critical damage. My name is Quad, and be sure to have a nice day. Bye guys!